In this video, we're going to talk about the right way to lose body fat. And the studies on my clients who have lost a considerable amount of body fat, 100 pounds, 100 pounds, 40 pounds, and how they actually lost the weight, lost the body fat, but actually how they're keeping it off. If you guys don't know me by now, my name's Adam Bunnell. I'm an online fat loss professional. I specialize in helping men get to the leanest body fat percentage they've ever been using hormonal approaches, direct nutrition correlation with hormones. So I've quite literally helped dozens and dozens of men in the last 6 months alone get to the leanest body fat percentage they've ever been and actually keep it off for good using a mechanism of metabolic priming. So metabolic priming is a process of metabolism manipulation that I currently specialize in, and I implement into every single one of my clients' plans to allow them to eat more food and lose more body fat, but actually keep it off for good. So any simple-minded idiot can starve themselves to death and do tons of cardio with harsh diets and eat less and do more. But what happens when you stop losing weight, stop losing body fat, eating less and doing more? So when you start to push the body, it starts to push back pretty quickly, and it tends to push back in the form of raising cortisol levels, raising inflammation, and raising fatigue. So you have to realize that, first of all, the body doesn't want to lose body fat. The body is a very smart organism, and it's 10 times smarter than you and I will ever be. So understanding how the body works and understanding how to keep it off for good is where a lot of people go wrong, because a lot of people think it's just calories in versus calories out, when it goes a lot deeper than that. And the reason why people think that is, and you've probably even seen on the internet when someone even comments on some of my posts and said just eat less and just do more. Well, people, if that was that easy, then we wouldn't have an obesity problem in America. We wouldn't have a problem with overweight people in America if it was that easy. It goes a lot deeper than that. And there's certain accountability and perspectives that you have to put into implication to really understand how the body works. So in the Journal of Consulting and Clinical Psychology, they did a study on the psychological effects of weight loss and regain, a prospective evaluation of people who lose a significant amount of weight and, actually gain it back. So statistically showing 30% of people who actually lose 10 plus pounds actually keep it off. And even a lower amount of those people keep it off for good. And the reason why that is because people don't understand how the body works, and people don't understand the process of losing fat to an actual scientific perspective. So in this certain clinical data study, they took a certain amount of people who lost 40 pounds, right? And then they checked up with them after 6 months, and they're actually up 8 more pounds. So why is this? Why are people losing a significant amount of weight and actually gaining back more than they actually had before? It's the actual education of how to actually lose weight properly and how to, one, reverse diet your body back to be able to manipulate the metabolism and to keep the metabolism healthy. So, we don't have a weight loss problem in America. There's not a weight loss problem. We have a fat loss problem. And more specifically, we have a keeping fat off problem. So certain things that you can kind of put into play when the body starts to push back is that the people who do highly calorically restrictive diets right off the bat, right? They don't understand how to go about, one, actually losing body fat and making sure to nurture your metabolism. And they put their calories at 1,500 and they start doing 30 minutes of cardio. You will lose body fat. By all means, you will lose body fat. I'm not saying you won't. But most of those people that do that actually gain it back, and here's why. Because one, once you start to restrict yourself to a certain amount, once you start to restrict your calories, the body starts to compensate and the body starts to push back. And then a lot of things start to actually happen hormonally as your body starts to adapt, right? Like your NEAT, which is non-energy activity thermogenesis, starts to lower as well, which is the amount of calories that you burn when you're not really anticipating or doing anything. So the actual exercise activity is only 15% of the entire energy expenditure when you're talking about calories out. So if you're only thinking about calories in versus calories out as how much cardio can I do, that's only 15% of what's really going on behind the scenes. And that's what people don't understand. But not only that, as you start to do cardio, as you start to start your cardio at 30 minutes, your body adapts to it fairly quickly. It adapts to doing 30 minutes of cardio and no longer has the same stimulus. So every single week that you start to do cardio at 30 minutes, you actually start to burn burn less calories doing the same amount of cardio. So let's put into context like why people actually gain this weight back and why they don't actually keep it off for good. So like, yes, you can lose a significant amount of weight, restricting your calories, restricting your carbohydrates, and going very high in cardio to subtract a lot of fat. But when you do that, you start to degrade the metabolism, and you actually start to go through a process which is called adapted thermogenesis, which the body starts to, one, lower the amount of calories that you're burning naturally. So what you don't understand is that to mitigate this, one, you have to have certain accountability in place, and you have to understand the actual lifestyle change that it takes to actually sustain it long term. And what I mean by this is, what I mean by accountability, first of all, is not necessarily a coach, but accountability, because this process isn't easy. Losing body fat isn't easy, and to actually do it correctly, you need to have a certain time frame that you kind of, one, do it very slowly. Why you want to do it pretty slowly is that, like, okay, let's say, for instance, your calories at 3,400. For my clients specifically, we do like a caloric intake maintenance assessment week, which is assessing how much calories they currently intake. And let's say you're eating 3,400 calories and you start at 1,300. Start at 1,500. What happens when your weight plateaus? You go to 1,400, 1,300. What you need to do is understand that there's a lot of work that needs to be done to keep body fat off, but also make sure to keep your hormones into place. In the certain accountability aspect, not even with having a coach, but making sure that you're maybe checking update photos with yourself, because the weight is not the only thing that matters when it comes to fat loss. Is because, one, if you are losing muscle tissue, you're actually starting to degrade your overall metabolism. And it's quite literally scientifically more detrimental on your health to lose muscle tissue than it is to lose body fat. So if you're, one, losing weight in the form of losing muscle tissue and lean body mass, you're quite literally putting yourself in a worse position metabolically and a worse position from a health perspective. So you have to understand that there is like a certain slower process, and there is a certain lifestyle change that it takes to be able to sustain this long term. So like, if you're right now and you're wanting to get lean for summer of 2025, like, you shouldn't be starting in June. If you're starting in June trying to lose fat for summer in July, you might as well just stay fat and keep drinking all summer, because it's never going to be sustainable. What you need to do is have a certain time frame allocated out where you position your body right. First of all, nurturing your metabolism so that you can lose body fat, but also slowly lowering those every single week, keeping yourself accountable. Maybe setting a date 6 months out and making sure you keep staying accountable by taking check-in photos with yourself each week. This will not only help by seeing the changes in your overall body composition as you start to lose body fat and gain muscle tissue, but it will also help you realize that it's not about losing weight, it's about how you look. Right? And then as you start to go through this process and take it slow, you're going to start to learn the actual lifestyle change that it takes to be able to sustain it for longer. You get to be able to be familiar about what nutrition and what food you're taking in, and know what your calorie ranges are per day. And then you start to build this pattern of overall sustainability on what your daily routine looks like, because that's where the sustainability comes, is from education and the actual correct implementation of understanding what the pattern looks like to actually have the actual lifestyle change and to have the identity change to be able to sustain 100 pounds down and not gain the body fat back. And even understanding that in some cases, like going through diet breaks, right, which is like a week where you slowly raise your calories, go back to a little bit more carbohydrates to reduce inflammation and fatigue, and then also psychologically take a break from harsh dieting. Because yes, like if you start at 3,400 calories, what you want to do is start maybe 400 calories below that, and then go until your weight actually stops, and then lower it a little bit more. This is going to create sustainability and create a pattern routine, a routine of what it looks like to be able to slowly lose body fat simultaneously and update it each week. And so as you're going through this process, you're lowering it, and you said, for instance, you need a psychological reset, which I do for a lot of my clients. For instance, here's my client, Devin, right? And as he's going through his fat loss phase and as he's going through his cutting phase, we gave him what's called a diet break, is where we raise the calories ever so slightly in the form of carbohydrates to, one, get a mental reset, but also get a physical reset. And what this does is getting more carbohydrates will help reduce adrenal fatigue, reduce cortisol levels, but also put your body in a parasympathetic state of healing. So along with the psychological benefits of actually keeping the weight off, going through long, prolonged periods of actually cutting body fat, because by all means, cutting body fat is not easy. But once you get the body fat off, becomes this much more harder to actually keep it off for good. It becomes very easy to keep it off when you have it off. But understanding how and putting your body in a position of how to cut body fat and keep it off for good is where most people go wrong. But adding diet breaks in there to reduce adrenal fatigue, to reduce cortisol levels, and to put your body in a state of parasympathetic healing, and also giving the mind a physical reset of harsh dieting over the course of time, helps this become more sustainable. And then we go back and we restrict a little bit more calories than we had before, and then we start a little bit more cardio and push the body a little bit further. In a lot of cases, when I do this with my clients too, you'd be surprised. Like, a lot of people, one, they'll actually lose a little bit of weight and lose a little bit of body fat by giving your body a little bit more food. Because what it does, it replenishes hormones, it replenishes and restores metabolism, and gets your body working a little bit more properly with the implementation of like reducing a lot of that stress. It's because cortisol levels, for instance, are like terrible in the human body when it comes to losing fat. It's the number one worst thing that we need to mitigate when losing body fat, because cortisol levels will restrict your body from losing body fat. So what people don't tell you on the internet is you can move less and eat more and still get lean, right? And there's tons of my clients doing it right now. And so how the process looks is like, yes, some of my clients do get pretty low in calories, but the number one thing that lets them keep it off for good is understanding how to repair the metabolism after your cutting phase, right? Because once you start to get low in calories, and once you start to go through adaptive thermogenesis, and once you start to get lower in calories over the course of time, not just in a 4-week period, yes, your body will start to adapt, right? Your body will start to adapt to a lower amount of calories and doing a bunch of cardio, right? But where people go wrong, where everybody in the industry goes wrong, even when the study of the Journal Consulting of Clinical Psychology and the data study they did, is understanding how to reverse diet back and repair your metabolism. So when you get to low amount of body fat, where you want to get, and success to me, for instance, is when you can take a client, get the fat off, and get them to a place of comfortability afterwards. Like reverse dieting and subtly giving food back periodically to make sure we're not gaining body fat, but we're repairing the metabolism. And so, for instance, if a client comes to me, and let's kind of walk this through. So let's say that he's eating 3,400 calories. We give him first correct macronutrients, right, for correct hormone imbalances. And then we start slowly lowering the calories, 3,000, and then, start raising the cardio slowly. And this is what a fat loss phase would look like for my particular client. And then as you start to go down, start to do more cardio, maybe we get to 2,000. I wouldn't usually get any of my clients under, 2,000 and 1,800, right? That's probably where I cap out most of my clients, because the fact is you want to move more before you do eat less, right? The body works better when you move more rather than you eat less, right? And so we want to really get our clients to move more in the form of doing more cardio. But let's say that he starts to plateau out, or like he gets extremely lean, like stage lean, and then he needs to get out of it. What we do is slowly, periodically get your hormones back in place, get your metabolism back in place, get the active hormones of T3 to actually start utilizing food again, and slowly bring those calories back up. So a perfect example of this would be my client Tristan, right? So when he came to me, he was eating 1,400 calories on the left. What is he eating on the right? 3,400 calories. Much fuller, still lean, and up 2,000 calories. And what we did is that, one, Tristan had actually gone through a prolonged cut for almost like a year straight. Lost a lot of body fat, lost a lot of weight, but he was like kind of stuck under 1,400 calories, right? And no matter how much he did or how much cardio he was doing, he could not get the weight to budge anymore. So this is a direct depiction of what happens when your metabolism starts to adapt and adaptive thermogenesis starts to get into place. So we actually slowly started to raise his calories from a place of hypercaloric restriction and get his calories up to get his metabolism to work more, right? So over the course of time, taking this very slowly, we gave him food each week, keeping him lean, implementing correct training to help grow muscle tissue, and he became not only eating 2,000 calories more, but he's still lean. And this is the correct process of what it looked like for a typical reverse diet or metabolic priming phase after your actual cut. And this is the specific place that people go wrong understanding how to keep it off, is understanding how to get your body there and understanding how to maintain eating under a certain amount of calories. Because how much easier would it be if you had 25, maybe even 3,000 calories to work with on your daily budget, and all you had to do was stay under that? How much easier would that be? Probably a lot easier than eating under 2,000 calories. So overall, where most people go wrong and the correct way to lose fat is understanding how to keep it off, understanding the lifestyle change, having a certain set of accountabilities and structures in place to be able to keep it off for good, understanding what nutrition that you need to eat when your body is maybe low on glycogen or low on fuel, and also understanding what your exact calorie ranges are and understanding what your correct protein, fats, and carbs are, right? And the correct process and what it looks like is that, one, when you go through this process once, right? Like for instance, guys in my program, when you go through this process once of raising your metabolism, getting your body prepared for a cut, lowering the calories, losing a bunch of body fat, and then getting your body actually back to a place of sustainability long term, you start to learn the actual lifestyle change and the actual pattern that is going to sustain you for good. This is why people who do 4-week hyper-restrictive diets that lose 40 pounds, lose a bunch of muscle tissue, but just gain it back even more, never keep it off, because you actually never learn the pattern. You never learn the sustainability aspect, and that's a certain set of accountability to make sure that you're doing it each day and to make sure that you are seeing far enough out and having a good structure and plan in place of what to eat, how much to eat, what your calories and protein should be at. But once you start to learn, you can do it yourself. You can maintain it yourself. So you can keep going through these never-ending cycles of losing a bunch of weight and just gaining it all back, trying diet after diet after diet after diet. Or you can do it right once and then never have to do it again. Because it's not easy. No, it is a lot of work, and it's a lot of understanding, it's a lot of knowledge. But what's harder? Not being able to get up in the morning because you feel so crappy, or not being able to take your shirt off at the beach, not able to take your shirt off at your local barbecue, and actually feeling like that your health is starting to degrade week by week because you have such a stomach that it's even harder to roll out of bed. Like, you tell me the hard, because you're going to have to do one or the other. You're going to have the hard of not liking the way you look, not enjoying the body that you have to live the rest of your life in, or understanding the hard of the work that needs to be done, the investment that needs to be made into yourself, and understanding that if you go through it once, that you never have to go through it again, because now you have to understand, you have the pattern, and that's what the sustainability aspect comes, is with the education and actually doing it the correct way once. So you can keep standing there and keep doing the wrong things over and over and over again and wasting a bunch of your time, or you can have someone like myself tell you exactly what you need to do the first time correctly, and so you can keep it off for damn good. And we could put the work in together, and you can join the 100 guys that I currently work with right now in the community that we've built that is helping them get there. So it's up to you. You choose your hard. But there will be an application for you down below. I give all the free content in the world out on this specific platform. YouTube is my platform where I just give as much value to you guys as humanly possible. And hopefully my content at least helps you make the initial progress. But for what you need specifically, what you need day by day, week by week, month by month to actually sustain it long term is something that you need to step forward and take the investment into yourself, because I can only give so much content on this platform to the majority. But what you need specifically to what a specific program would look like for you and the customization for you. So if that sounds like you and you're tired of being stuck, you're tired of feeling like shit, go ahead and sign up down below, and me and my team will jump on a call with you and we'll get you integrated with the guys I currently work with.